3, 2, 1. And we're live. Whenever you are, wherever you are, thank you for joining the Design of Everyday People live stream, where I talk to senior UX designers from all over the world and where you get to literally ask them anything. So get your typing fingers ready and let me flash this banner so you know what to do, and drop your questions as we chat about different topics and when it comes to your head, because we tend to forget it. Again, we want to make this session as interactive as possible. So like always, I'm going to ask you, where are you watching this or listening to this from? Drop your city, country in the chat, or if you're feeling ambitious, drop a flag in to test my flag knowledge. I'm pretty bad, but it's all the football sticker days. Hopefully I can guess them, but that's where my flag knowledge comes from. Again, let me know where you guys are tuning in from. So without further ado, someone's already said hi. Hi, where are you from? Didn't listen to the instructions. Don't worry, I'll get it started. Let me play that intro. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
Hey, and we have some folks tuning in from India. Yes, India. We have someone, I believe, from Germany. Someone from Berlin, Germany, sort of. Okay. We have California. Okay, we've got lots of people from just all over Toronto, Brazil. Okay, this is awesome, guys. Well, let's get this started. Welcome to how design recruitment works. Sorry. Let's start with quick introductions, like always. I'm Chris, the fan of UX Playbook. But before that, a self-taught designer struggling to get into UX. And now I spend most of my time helping designers navigate a fuzzy career with UX Playbook, from building your first portfolio to building your first design team. And I just want to point you to this. If you're interested in checking that out, UX Playbook, that is, you can scan that QR code. But that's enough about me and all the stuff that I do. Today, I'm joined by Lena Kul. She started in recruitment, transitioned to a researcher at Miro, and now is a founder of her own recruitment firm specializing in product design and research roles. So let's get her out and find out more about Lena. Hey, Lena, how are you doing?
Hi, Chris. So good to see you. So good to be here. I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good. We chatted earlier off air, and you said that you're somewhere else, not at home. Where are you, and what are you doing there?
I'm in Barcelona. That's my happy summer place. So I'm getting inspired, getting all the vitamin D that in Berlin you don't get that much all the time, because I'm based in Berlin. And, prepping all the good ideas that I'm going to be showing to everyone later in the year, basically.
Okay, cool. I just visited Barcelona, and can I just say, in summer, it's pretty full on, like especially the beach. It's pretty hot out there, huh?
Yes, sure. But I don't know. Depends, right? We can also spend some time talking about like the body temperatures and who likes what, because I think it's beautiful in Barcelona. It's warm, it's sunny, it's gorgeous. People are smiling. So yeah.
Okay. Someone just said, Lena is the reason I found this webinar. Cheers. Hey, Anthony, what's going on? Okay. Again, I want to remind the folks listening that to drop all the questions that you have as we talk about the topic of how design recruitment works. And also, because everybody asks me every single live stream, are these conversations recorded? Yes, they are recorded. So you can just hop over to YouTube and type Chris from UX Playbook, and we'll come up. So if you missed something, feel free to watch this back. But later, before we get into the topic, let me just quickly introduce what we're talking about today, so the audience are on the same page as us. So I hear on LinkedIn a lot, especially from designers, I struggle to get interviews. Is my resume, portfolio, or something else the matter? Basically, what they're saying is I can't find a UX job. And some mistakes I see a lot of times is portfolios don't really match the role that they're applying to. Everyone just kind of smashes that easy apply button on the job posting on LinkedIn. There's fairly weak storytelling on case studies. They're not leveraging their network, and they're also ignoring if they're a fit for the company. And Lena, that's why I invited you on to dig into how design recruitment works. And in this conversation, we want to touch on three things: how design hiring actually works, how to avoid common job search mistakes, and then how to get hired as a designer or a researcher in 2025 and beyond. So let's get into it. I feel like before we get into all those things that I just mentioned, we should ask you about you and like your background and just who are you for the people that don't know you, Lena.
For sure. It's so funny. I always say that I'm, as a recruiter, always like judging how well people pitch themselves and tell their story. But I'm actually not a big fan of talking about myself and telling my story. So please don't judge me too much. But I basically started in recruitment, similar to most of the recruiters in the world. Never wanted to be in recruitment, never planned for it, but basically kind of happened naturally. And so after just 1 year of doing tech recruitment, so the dry recruitment of the back end, I moved into design and I scaled the whole N26 design team. Meaning by the design team, I literally call the product design, the user research, the creative parts like videography, creative direction. There was like the whole studio kind of internally. That was really, really fun experience, very insightful. And that kind of led me to the design recruitment at Miro. That experience was fundamental in my career. Absolutely loved it. The Miro team was growing. We were scaling across different locations. And I basically was the only design recruiter who was working with the head of design and the rest of the hiring managers, or hiring managers, because I was also hiring a lot of director roles for research and for design to kind of scale up the team. So I spent there a couple of years. And then we all know that a couple of years back, the market became what it became. So I had a great opportunity to move into research. I built the research team myself. So I scaled it from 2 to like 14 people in a couple of years. And then I became a researcher myself. And that was really fruitful because I think talking about disciplines is one thing, but being a part of a discipline, it just really opens up a lot of perspective. So literally when I was telling everyone, think about how you frame the problem in your case studies, or, like the research methods that you choose and things like that. Like I actually was living that, and that was great. I think that experience really made me a much better recruiter than I could have ever been without it. And then almost a year ago now, 9 months ago, something happened that happened to many folks potentially who will watch this recording or are watching this event. I got laid off, and I guess I had not a very common experience. I was totally ready to get laid off. It was a very calculated risk for me to go from like a very senior recruitment role into a very junior researcher role. And so I definitely knew that if the layoff was to come in, I would be the one who was asked to leave, and that happened. And so I already had like all my kind of agency stuff working, and off I went to be a founder, solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. And now I am doing something that I think I've always was meant to be doing. So I am working with the companies and helping them hire. But through helping companies hire, I also have an opportunity to scale up, good practices. So how do we find candidates? How do we engage with candidates? How do we make sure that we don't approach thousands of candidates because we don't know what we're looking for? And on the other hand, I'm working with the candidates and teach them the same. How do we make sure that you don't apply to thousands of companies and don't get anywhere without, but actually, understand what's happening and being strategic in your search? So yeah, those kind of, 2 pillars that built my business, with small things like this event, for example, wonderful things that open up a lot of opportunities for others to learn, on the sites as satellites.
Awesome. So that's really interesting story. Okay, so you have a really unique perspective of how design hiring works, just because you're from the recruitment background, transitioned to a researcher, and then like now back kind of doing your own thing, but helping others and teaching others how to do it. So I'm just going to throw you this really vague question, and you can in any direction you want, and then we can dive into the specific nuances and different parts. In your opinion and mind and experience, how does design hiring actually work? What do we need to know?
Yeah. I think the main part is something that I'm trying to like specify more and more now in my post and content, is that design hiring is not design, right? Like hiring an application is a different skill set. And even if you're a good designer, it doesn't mean that you're very good at hiring or being hired. And so that's how it works, right? Hiring in design and product and engineering, whatever, it's like matching of what you described as a role to what you see on the market, and you're basically trying to make sure that it's a good fit. And now everyone is going to be like, yeah, but the companies don't really say what they want, and they're so vague and everything like that. Okay, how about you go into like a huge organization that has no idea where it's going, because none of the businesses do. They have goals, but no one knows where they're going. And then you try to scope the role. So you try to make something out of nothing, where you have to put an actual human and predict how they're going to be performing. So I think that's what lots of people don't understand, that scoping the role is honestly, I think, the hardest and the most important part of recruitment. And this is why if you're working with an experienced recruitment partner, they will help you ask the right questions yourself as a hiring manager. What success look like for this candidate? What are the top 3 competencies? What are the secondary 3 competencies? What are the nice to haves? What are the skills that we don't have to pay attention to that much? Those are just like, whatever, we'll throw them on top. So this is how it works. Basically, the recruiter and the hiring manager start building the job that is going to be the baseline for the job description, for the outreach that you're going to get as a candidate, for the questions that you're going to receive from the recruiter, and for the criteria that the recruiter and the hiring manager are going to have towards you. So for example, if we see that the role is scoping in a way that we need like a very strong 0-to-1 designer, you must have visual skills then. I'm sorry, you're building 0-to-1, right? Like I don't necessarily care that much about all the previous experiences, but if I don't see that you have this 0-to-1, most likely you will not be selected for this role. And so that's why when candidates come back and say, well, you didn't really get to know me, I don't have to, because I know that you don't have my primary experience that I have identified for myself as the top experience that I want to see for my candidate. And those candidates that are moved throughout the process, that's basically where the dating process begins. My professor used to say that recruitment is like dating, and I thought that was really stupid when I was still studying. And now I'm like, I kind of see what this man meant, because it's not only about being very good at what you actually do, but it's also about being very good at telling what you do, and like sharing that perspective. So many folks would coming into the processes without clear understanding who they are. I'm a UX designer, I'm a product designer, I'm a strategic designer. So who are you? And different things would say different things. So if you don't know who you are, I don't know who you are, and I don't want to hire you, because you like, what can you do then for me? It's a very complicated thing. So those are like the levels of filters that like recruitment process basically shows right away. And those candidates who are able to tell a clear and direct story, basically going through their interview rounds, and the recruitment process works in the way that ideally per stage we would have set of competencies that we're trying to assess. And in the best perfect world, for each competency you would have a bank of questions. So each competency would have 10 questions, and then we would distribute the questions per kind of the person who is going for different rounds, and then they would say yes, no, why, and all of that. And then we would recalibrate and decide if we're going to hire you. In the real world, it doesn't work this way, obviously. We say, hey, we have 5 competencies that we definitely want to see. And this is my non-negotiable with all companies that I work with. Like, we must decide what is really important. And if we have all of that, it's a hireable candidate. Like, I don't care about the rest. The rest is like not so important. And basically then off you go, that you try to create as much prep material as a recruiter as possible, because you want to align the team as much as possible. But the reality is that everyone will have their own agenda. And that's why sometimes candidates have very different experience going through different stages, because it is politics, because you are interviewing with a company. Everyone knows that there's a lot of politics in the companies. As soon as they go into the interviewing processes, they're like, oh, that was so weird. It almost felt like political. I'm like, so did you work in the company or not? Why there is so much surprise? And that's how the recruitment process works. Basically, you try to align as much and influence as much. And basically, if you manage to get soft yeses and yeses in the room, and all people kind of agree that everything is aligned, off you go and you hire a person. But that's kind of, like in the nutshell, how recruitment process works.
Competencies obviously are very, very important. How does that affect more entry level and junior folks? Because they might not have the 100% competencies, ticking all the boxes. So in that sense, does the other culture element or proactivity or initiative or whatever the other judges for them to hire, does that come into play? And how have you seen that, behind the scenes?
Yeah. So realistically, all roles are scoped towards a certain seniority level. So if I say that for me, product thinking is very important, that you build 0 to 1 is very important, that you can work with like strategic initiatives, like big initiatives that are going to be involved in several cross-functional teams, that means that I'm talking at least about senior role, most likely about the staff role, right? And so those competencies are not going to be the same for junior roles. For junior roles, the competencies are going to be, you must come with a very good craft, right? Like you need to have principles, like, you need to understand principles, you need to understand some frameworks, and you need to be very, very skilled in visual design. If you cannot meet those competencies on the junior level, someone else will, because the competition on the junior levels is very, very high. And this is why, yes, the rest of the things will come in place, but you should be able to hit those things. And this is the point, because if it's a junior role, it's scoped for a junior role, right? So like those are the competencies that the company thinks junior folks should be able to obtain throughout their experiences. And now you are going to ask me like, oh yeah, but like at universities, they don't have projects or anything like that. And this is true. And this is where for juniors, there is so much. Like, honestly, it's now been easier to build something, even if you don't work for the company. Go vibe code, go find your, like whatever gap and create like a pet project, and then ask 5 friends whether or not they would use what's working, what's not working. That's already like research project. That's literal kind of real project that I would have loved to see as a recruiter for a junior role. So I think what is really important for junior roles specifically is the changing the mindset for senior roles actually as well, changing the mindset from like, oh, but like I don't have that. Okay, but like how can you get it? Because there are people who do have it, and like you have to be somehow competitive. That's just the reality of the market.
Yeah, that makes sense. And have you seen companies care about the competencies, but it's like easier to fill those kind of competencies, but over index on culture fit because they need a very specific culture because of whatever niche or vertical they're in? Have you seen that? Or is that not so much? It's more about the competencies?
I think it's a balance. And this is what, like, skills are definitely very, very important. I have not seen, I'm yet to see that the company hires an asshole designer who has excellent skills. And we've seen, like, we've all seen those people, right? So cultural fit or ad or, like whatever, vibes, whatever you want to call it. But I think both are very, very important, because to be honest, bringing the wrong person on the team, regardless of how big or small team is extremely dangerous. We all know that. And I also see that the companies, like, why hiring became so problematic, why so many people get to the offer stages and don't get the offers, because the companies are extremely risk averse right now. For them, it's easier to miss an opportunity of hiring you rather than hiring you and then finding out that you were not the right hire to bring in, because all companies want you to hit the ground running immediately, especially if we're talking about like senior levels, right? Junior levels, not so much. B, they want you to be like an excellent team player, because you will have to talk to product, you will have to talk to engineering, you will have to do research and things like that. C, they want you to bring like really, really strong craft, because, well, that's what it is right now, right? And by craft, I mean visual skills and product thinking, like problem solving skills, that's all product design craft, for example. And so, for them, it's going to be like, do I feel that this person is going to be a great person to work day to day, because yeah, everyone cares about it, and I think that's totally a normal thing. I don't like vibe hiring, but I think it's totally okay if you get like extremely red flags, like you should not be hiring that person then. And then the competencies kind of come in as like more quantitative feedback about your skill set.
Right. Got it. Got it. Okay. We have so many questions later. This is going to be so good. But I'm going to just, I guess, shepherd us along to the second point, and then
Yeah.
if I could get them into the conversation, I will. But first, let's just focus on these points because I really want to nail them. So the second question or big topic that I want to discuss is how to avoid common job search mistakes. So maybe we can just throw out some common job search mistakes and then a list of like things like how we could avoid them. What do you see the most when you're working with researchers, designers in this recruitment process?
Yeah. The most common ones, so many, honestly. I think the most common ones, first of all, like unreadable titles. I don't understand why so many people want to come up with the titles themselves and try to like squeeze 5, 6 different words in the title, kind of explain what they do, but by the title. You can challenge me on that, but there are researchers, UX researchers, and there are product designers. UX designers is the old way to call product designers, because product design now is the end-to-end product design that begins with UX and finishes with UI, right? Like this is basically the reality. So when people start asking me like, oh, but should I call myself UX designer or product designer? If you do the trend search and like the LinkedIn search, you will see that most of the companies call roles product design roles, staff product design. There are different, like, Google still calls like interaction designers because they Google, they can do whatever, like they want to do whatever. Shopify doesn't have titles, bless them, like that's their choice kind of thing. But in the reality, in the majority of the market, and I mean like Western European and American market, product design is product design. So like having decent job titles is very important, because to be honest, like I don't care what titles you're using, because I know design, like, I've been in the space for so long. But you can be dealing also with a recruiter who's like dealing with the design role for the very first time in their life. And so if they were told to hire a product designer and you come up with all of those titles yourself, you will not be selected, because they don't understand that it's the same job, because their job is not to guess. Their job is to literally compare what they were told good looks like to what you wrote in your CV. So that's the mistake number one. Mistake number two, for product designers specifically, for user researchers, not so important, not having your portfolios accessible. When I source on LinkedIn, honestly, it doesn't matter how well your experience looks like. If I have access to your portfolio right away and I can assess how good you are, look, you're already halfway through in my call. So why not share your portfolio publicly? And everyone's like, we don't see any good portfolios. Well, have you shared your portfolio? Have you contributed to solving the problem of sharing portfolios? I'm sharing more and more now open portfolios. Aneta, amazing content creator on LinkedIn, she's sharing so many incredible portfolios. There are creators who do that. So just like find those and make sure that you share yours openly with the hiring teams. Mistake number three is honestly like no portfolios, the landing page without case studies, without any visuals, without anything. So many designers say they've done everything to get a job. And then I say, okay, send me your portfolio. I'm going to give you feedback. Oh, I don't have a portfolio. You haven't done anything to get a job. Like, I'm sorry, without the portfolio, you cannot get a job without a portfolio. Like, why are we still talking about it at this point? And that might sound harsh, and you might also tell me, like, have you tried, Lena, to create your portfolio? And I get it. It is like a big, look, I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm saying it's fundamental to be successful. And so many people don't do that. Or like send me the portfolio with like all case studies coming soon. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, I need to see those things. So those are the things. And then the major problem, no one understands that you cannot be a fit for every role. If you're a pure B2B designer, you will not be hired for B2C space. This is just how it works. Like, there is a specialization in product design specifically. In research, not so much. I feel like research is still much more flexible than product design. So like, everything that I say for like is applicable to research, but I think in design, it's just like so much more strict. So yes, if you only worked on B2B product, you will not be put on the consumer facing product. If you've only worked on super tiny startups, most likely you're not so interested for a very big organization unless they build 0 to 1. Then you're a very cool product designer, and vice versa. If you only work with very big teams and you go in as a founding designer, you might not be the best designer for them, and things like that. And so people don't understand that instead of going and easy applying for all the roles that they see, so many people come to me to my DMs, or I see on LinkedIn, you can say like open to work, and then they can mention the titles of the roles. Open to work to product designer, senior product designer, staff product designer, product design manager, director of product design. So who are you? Like, why? I don't understand. Like, and is it, maybe that's me problem, but like, is it logical to everyone that you can be a mid-level designer and a director of product design? What kind of signal are you sending to the market? What kind of signal are you sending to me as a recruiter? Who are you? Like, you will be then overqualified for a mid-level role if you are a director, and you will not be hired for that, and people would be then, oh yeah, I was rejected because I was overqualified. What a stupid thing. But the role was scoped for a certain level of seniority. And when you come into this level of seniority, it doesn't mean that you cannot do the job. It means that in 3 months, you're going to be bored out of your mind, and you're going to come to the head of design and create a problem and then leave. And then all this expensive recruitment process went for nothing, and the onboarding process went for nothing. So no one wants to hire you into this role. And this is why you need to reverse engineer kind of your hiring. We're not talking about solutions yet, but those are kind of, the main things that I'm seeing. People just throwing themselves at everything, spray and pray kind of, and let's see what, spaghetti at the wall, as I'm saying, that Anthony is saying. Like, that's exactly what people are doing. And like, this is the major issue.
Right. And before we get into solutions, like, green open to work badge as a very senior person, good idea or red flag? This is a question from Clive. What do you think, Lena?
I didn't think, first of all, that there is a difference, green badge on senior or junior person. Like, why is that a difference? First of all. Second of all, I personally don't care. Like, honestly, I don't care. I see a green badge on you. If you look like a relevant candidate for me, I'm like, okay, great, you're open to work, let's talk, right? But then if I see an ugly portfolio, I'm like, well, then no, So like, for me, it doesn't matter. Whether or not you have like the green thing, I will approach you, and the recruiters see that you're open to work. You might not know, and this is like a secret of recruitment world I give you. You can make yourself open to work, but only to recruiters who have LinkedIn recruiters account. So you don't have the green badge, but I, as a LinkedIn recruiter user, I can see that you're open to work. And then your employer doesn't see, for example, if you're employed by someone, but like I can. At the same time, I think just because we've been talking about it for so much, there is a negative connotation about this green thing. Like, there is. And to be honest, it's just like this is the question that so many people ask me. And I must tell you, like, I've observed that within me, that when I see the green badge, it biases me towards that you're not a very strong candidate. Like, I fight it because I'm aware, and I am ethical recruiter. But I bet that not everyone is aware and not everyone is fighting it. So like, if I was to recommend, you can hear whatever. Oh yeah, we don't care about it. It's a free world. I would not add it to my account. Like, I would not put that, because you might be scaring some opportunities. To make yourself hireable, you need to be very clear on what you've done. You have to have very good titles in your LinkedIn. Doesn't matter how senior you are. You need to create very strong, explanation of your roles as if that was your CV. You need to add your portfolio, and you should have your email as well, and you should start engaging with good content so you are visible, and that's much better than the green thing.
Awesome. Okay, that's a really good pro tip that you mentioned, where you could actually have a green badge, but just be surface to not everybody, but the people looking to hire candidates. So if you want to test that, and I would probably encourage folks to actually either do public green badge, semi-private green badge, or no green badge, and just see what happens in terms of like, how many callbacks do I get? How many visitors on my portfolio do I get? And all those sort of variables that you can kind of measure to see if the green badge actually makes a difference. Because I hear this question come up all the time as well. It's like, am I desperate? I don't know what to do. Like, yeah, all this stuff. So you did mention some of those solutions around those problems. So I guess the last kind of, big question that I had on topic, because we do have lots of questions coming in, is how do we get hired as a designer in 2025? Like, what are some insider tips that you share with the people you coach and in your course and all that stuff? Are there some little nuggets that you can help us surface for the folks on the call?
Yeah, for sure. And I think I would like to combine this answer with the comment that Rachel has left, that, senior recruiter openly saying that people are not hireable with the green badges is very disappointing, and that being biased is okay. First of all, every human is biased. This is just human nature. And us as UXers, we should know that, right? Because we run the studies and we see that. I'm not saying that you're not hireable with a green badge. I'm saying that by using networking strategies, like green badge is not a working strategy to get hired, period. It will not get you hired. And so when people say, will that help me? No, it will not help you. Is that raising your chances? Not really. Is it lowering your chances? I don't know. And Chris suggested you A/B test it. This is why we're here, right? We like to experiment. We like to iterate. What will get you hired, and then coming to your question, I guess, is once again, clean narrative of your profile. I want your portfolio, I want your CV, and I want your LinkedIn to tell me the same story. I don't want to go into your LinkedIn and see that you're a creative director, and then I go into your portfolio and you say, I'm a principal product designer. So what is going? And it's crazy how often that happens, actually. People do that. So have a cohesive story, have the same titles. Your LinkedIn and your CV should be absolutely identical. I don't understand why people spend time making it different. Keep it exactly the same. So when I go from your CV to your LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, it's the same. And off I go, right? And I go into your portfolio. So be clear on who you are. Be clear on the seniority levels. So many people call themselves whatever, honestly. There is no universal seniority levels. That's the problem of the design leadership communities. Come on, design leaders, let's come in and let's decide, is it a principal staff or is it a staff principal? How come we still don't have it cleaned up? But if you look at the biggest companies like Meta and Google and Spotify, it goes like this. It goes junior, mid, senior, and then it goes staff, senior staff, principal on the IC track, and it goes senior and then lead, the same level usually. You just move into the leadership track, and then goes manager, senior manager, director, senior director, head of. Sometimes director and head of also. Don't know why, honestly, don't know. But basically, understand what seniority level you are at. If you have a couple of years experience and you call yourself a principal, for me, it's a red flag. If you don't understand those kind of things, that means you haven't been around enough. It means that you never participated in hiring. It means it's just not a great signal to me. So being clear on that. Obviously, when you build your CV, don't want to see a job description, right? Facilitated workshops, created prototypes, ran research studies. Okay, what happened after that, right? What came out of it? I'm not hiring a person who is an executor only. I'm hiring a person who can move the needle. You've heard it many times. So we want the person who's gonna do something, not only create an illusion that they doing things. I'm doing all these tasks, but what is the impact that you brought with creating executing on those tasks? And this is what I give to all my students and clients and Maven students. It's literally like a framework. This is the task that I've done. So I facilitated a workshop. As the outcome of this task, we created more alignment. Okay, what is the impact of that alignment? If we are an aligned team, what happens next? We could deliver more features in a shorter period of time. We identified more critical gaps in our roadmap and we reprioritized something or anything like that. That's an impact. That's an actual measurable thing. If you cannot measure it, You still can measure, well, the outcome is still a great signal for me that you understand that your work needs to be measured. But Lena, what can we do if we work in the company that doesn't measure anything? Like when I hear that, I kind of understand it, but also like, I'm sorry, have we started talking about impact in CVs and portfolios only yesterday, or has it been a question of several years now? Like you have a data team, you have a PM, you have an engineering team, you know, like how do you know that you build the right solutions if you don't know what good looks like? Because you decided that it's good, because one user told, but if one user told you that it's good, it's already a feedback and it's already quantifiable metric. So add it. But like what told you at that point of time when you were building it that that was the right solution to deliver? So basically, I want to see impact for sure. And then I guess moving into portfolios, obviously, like, you know, I don't want to see a wall of case studies that are completely irrelevant for the jobs. And I guess that's going to be like an underlying point of everything that I'm saying. It needs to be clean portfolio. I need to see your visual craft right away. And it's not about the products necessarily that you've built only, because if you're working in the ugly B2B product, look, it is the way it is, you know, like you cannot do anything about it. But this is why you built your portfolio. How your portfolio looks like. What is the animation? What is the interaction? Delightful moments that you created for me as a recruiter and a hiring manager that I'm like, that's nice. You know, they can design, they just couldn't there because, well, that's the design system. Because like there are very strong and very good designers in Workday. Have you ever used Workday? No hate for Workday, but it's a really bad product. You know?
Right.
You know, but like they could build a very beautiful portfolio and it still come out like as a very strong designer. So I think like that's what I'm meaning. And so the biggest advice how to start building your CV and portfolio and like, you know, building your story and like choosing the titles and the levels would be to reverse engineer your job search. So literally what I suggest to all my clients and what I would do if I went to the market. So let's imagine that I decided that I'm going to go back in house and I'm going to like apply for a role. I wouldn't be finding different roles and applying with the same thing, right? Like it makes no sense to me personally. What I would do some research. It's not benchmarking. Okay, what are the companies that I'm liking, you know, and what are the similar products that are in the space? ChatGPT will help you with that. You don't even have to do that yourself, right? So you would do the market analysis and then you would see what are the roles. And then ideally, you would reflect first on yourself. So many people don't understand that it's important that you know what you want to do. What are my strengths? What are the skills that I bring? People call it superpowers, don't care. But like, what are the top skills? Like I'm a top recruiter because I source really well, I build relationships really well, and I pitch companies really well. And that's all you need basically to close very good talent. So those would be my 3 top kind of competencies that I would be scanning for in the job descriptions to see that they're looking for that, because that's how I'm going to sell myself into that role. So like, what are the roles? What are the seniority levels? What are the titles? What are the keywords? How do they describe the impact that they want you to create? If you don't want to do it yourself, literally share the links. I recently posted a LinkedIn post, what kind of prompts to give to ChatGPT to get those things in seconds. And the prompts were created in seconds on my live session. So that's how easy it is. Literally, you ask ChatGPT, what is the outcome that this company is expecting from me based on this job description? It's not like I'm a very good prompter, don't get me wrong, right? And so I think that's really, really important to understand what is it that they're looking for, but what is it that you're looking for? If you don't like some parts of your work, don't apply for roles that require that, because you will burn out. Like, you know, and we're not here to live through those toxic cycles of terrible jobs. And I understand that the job market is very complicated right now. And I understand I am in the privileged position because I'm self-employed and everything is going. Look, I understand that. It's not like I was given that position. Let's also not forget about it, because I also don't want to hear, oh, you just got lucky. You know, like everyone has their own luck in hands. And that's what I also suggest every job seeker to get as a mindset. Because there is a lot of like victimization. Oh, like, you know, the market is so bad and like, what do we do? But anyways, as you kind of look at yourself and look what's out there, you pick all this information and you start reverse engineering your case studies, your CV, your pitch, and things like that. If the companies that you're going after all want product designers with excellent visual craft, those who built 0 to 1 and worked on consumer mobile apps, Those are the case studies that you build, and guess what, right? And those are the bullet points that you add in me. Don't care then about anything else that you've done. I want to see as much of the relevant information for me as the employer as I can. And so this is like the smartest approach, and this is literally the approach that many of my students are using, and they get employed because you've done a lot, especially if you worked across a couple of years in the same company. So this is how you choose what to talk about. You shouldn't be talking about everything. You should be talking about the important things. And that's what also shows me that you can prioritize things and you know what I need. And so that's how you become like a standout candidate, basically.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. And I really like this comment from Anthony. If you don't follow Lena, I suggest it. I like that she occasionally highlights good portfolios she's come across. It helps understand what a recruiter like her looks for. So if you liked what you heard from Lena, you should get off this live stream and go follow her straight away on LinkedIn, because there was just so much there. And we should all probably watch the replay as well, just so we can write down some notes. But at the moment, because there's like 30 plus questions just flying in at me, and it's very hard to sort of bring it all up mid convo, I'm just going to run through them, Lena, and I'm just going to rapid fire them at you, if that's okay with you. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's go. So, first one, question that's come up a bunch of times: how to stand out in a cover letter. Is a cover letter even important? How do you feel about the cover letter in general?
Yeah, I don't know why designers and researchers are talking about cover letter. So, like, hear me out. If the company requires you to do the cover letter, then do it, and then I can highlight how to stand out. I have never seen a proper company hiring for research or design and asking for a cover letter. Your portfolio is your cover letter. That should be more than enough. I worked in recruitment for 7 years. I have not read one cover letter in my life. And I am not planning on doing that, because you all wrote it in ChatGPT, or before that, it was copy paste with like the placeholder for the, I also did that, right? Like I also applied for jobs, don't get me wrong. So I don't think that anyone should be wasting actually time on cover letters. If you are required by the company to add the cover letter, be as specific as possible. So look, I don't want to see passionate about solving problems. Duh, that's why you're in product design, like I don't want to see that you like to balance the business needs and the user needs. Give me an example. Give me an example how you did it. Give me an example what kind of problems you've solved. So give me like strong keywords and your narrative. Like everyone has something interesting about them. Someone comes from architecture background. Someone comes from like very visual background. Someone speaks a lot of languages and they like to see how products scale across the globe. Like there's so many things that makes you. I don't say that you need to be extra creative, but you need to tell some kind of story. Every story needs to have the beginning, the middle, and the end. In the beginning, you should kind of give me the summary. I'm a product designer with that many years of experience. I worked across B2B, B2C, SaaS, and now I love to vibe code. Give me all the words that I most likely want to see because of the job that I'm hiring for. And then off you go and you tell me a little bit more about your projects. Cover letter is kind of about the motivation, but imagine like cover letter, if I was to like describe it the best, it's kind of like a shortcut of the recruiter screen when you need to talk a little bit about your motivation and mostly also about the important things that you've built, right? So like I've built XYZ, and this is why this experience is very important for your company, because you build an ABC. So you want to kind of reflect it and layer it top on top one another to showcase that you're a right candidate. But if you're talking a lot about things that you just like doing, like honestly, it's not like a hobby letter. It's like you need to sell yourself. And I think this is like a very interesting observation that I'm having. And I hope that's going to be helpful for everyone on this call. When you're in the recruitment process, it's a business negotiation. It's a business. You sell yourself because you will get money afterwards as a salary. It's not about liking you. I mean, there is some level to that, but look, you need to like a product that you buy as well. Let's face it, right? And you read the reviews, like we do the references, right? And you might to go for like a test drive, and so you have like the exercises and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's a business negotiation. And when you start treating recruitment process as if it's like a friend's talk and not business negotiation, that's where it gets like a little bit slippery slopey for everyone, and that's where you stop succeeding.
Okay. What about this? How should people leaders showcase their design craft when they haven't been a majority IC for years? So, Kelly, are you saying that you're trying to get back into the IC role as a people leader? I don't know, Lena, you can take this
I
however you
didn't think
want.
that's the question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't think that's the question, because quite often the design leaders would be asked to kind of, showcase. So for design leaders, what's important when, the job description says whatever, you don't need to show your craft, but you as a design leader, you sign off the designs. And that's the craft. You enable the team to build and design, and then you as a design leader approve or disapprove and send for the redesign. And so basically what you need to show in your portfolio is not like I delivered, I developed, I designed, but you want to say that you helped to scope and enabled your team to be successful. And then maybe you went into critique sessions as a design leader. That's what design leaders do sometimes, and that's what means hands-on design leaders, meaning that you sometimes can even jump into Figma and give feedback on Figma. It doesn't necessarily mean that you design, but like this is the hands-on approach of design leadership. It's not just you there kind of and doing just one-on-ones, but you're very close to design and production itself. And so whatever final design work that's being delivered, this is what you show, and that's your craft. Because it's not, you shouldn't be the best designer on your team. And that's why I love this phrase, like, if you are a design leader and you're the worst designer on the team, you've built the best team. That's what you should be aspiring to build, that everyone is better than you, but you are the leader, you are the enabler. You do different things. Your skill set is different, your job is different, but the craft that you sign off, that's the kind of craft that you need to be showing in your portfolios.
Yeah, for my recent portfolio, when I say recent, it was probably 2019. What I showcased was like the process I built for multiple teams. Then it was this UX education initiative where we basically trained the whole company over like 2 quarters, 300 people, this thing called UX onboarding, and then obviously the career ladder, like how do we define each level, how do we measure each level, and then how do we basically help folks go to the next level. So like I would call it like design ops, right? Things you've done for your team to enable either processes, culture, whatever the ops of operating that design team means to you. So that was the craft that I chose to show. Okay. Next question, which is, do we need to show old designs in our portfolio?
I'd say no. Why? Like if that's the designs that don't represent the level of craft anymore that you're having, like I don't need to see that. You need to show, once again, every application, like people don't understand that CV and portfolio, you should be showing the most relevant things. And this is your story to tell. I don't know you, so you can be anyone for me, right? And so show me the best work you've done. Show me the most relevant, the most recent, most likely, unless you work like somewhere amazing and very relevant, and then you work somewhere not so relevant. So yeah, show me that work, but make sure that you also show me what is the year of that project, right? If it's an older project. Because it's really frustrating when you go in and you can see some of them like very, very different craft-wise, but you have no idea how long it's been. And that's a red flag for us, right? Like we might dig in if like some projects are excellent, but if it's all just okay, we will not be digging in. Like we're going to be moving on to the next candidate.
Right. Okay. So here's someone that says, I have previous design experience, but none in UX or digital work. Will recruiters consider this experience irrelevant if I'm applying for a UX role in tech?
I would need to understand what is the design experience if there is nothing in UX or digital work. So,
Print
if you,
design or graphic design, like physical things, like physical product design?
I guess like to answer to this question, like more kind of high level, if I'm asking for UX or digital work experience as my like primary competencies and you don't have it, no. You know, like you need to have what the company is asking for. And you know, that's also the point, that job descriptions are very, very broad right now. And I totally agree with everyone who will say that it's impossible to hit everything that the companies are putting there. Like when I work with my clients, I literally give like limits to the amount of competencies that they can put, because it's just confusing for everyone, everyone, even the hiring managers, you know. So I'm like, you have top 3 for each, you know, and it's already a lot afterwards. So when you look at the job description, what you need to have kind of part, because it's all like what you will do, what you need to have, it's the same job descriptions for everyone is copying each other. You can throw it in ChatGPT, but like in general, rule of thumb, that the first 5 are the most important ones, and the rest is like additional. So if you're not hitting 4 out of 5, it is most likely not something that, you know, you gotta be fitting for. You can still try. 3 out of 5 is a must have, but also if it's like 10 and you're hitting only 3 out of 5, that's not great. Like you will never get this job kind of thing. But overall, you should be trying to gain some experience in UX or digital if you are planning to go for those kind of roles. Otherwise, it's really hard. I don't think it's possible actually without any kind of experience. Like maybe everything is possible, but I wouldn't know how to suggest to do that without the experience.
Right. I like this question from Florian. Lena recommends Framer as a go-to portfolio site, while Chris highlights Notion in his playbook. How do you see the strengths of each, and like when would you choose one over the other? Lena, I'll let you take this first.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry, Chris, if it's going to be really against. I don't think Notion is a portfolio tool. Yes, you can create publishable pages. And maybe, and just maybe, if you put proper effort as a researcher, you could use Notion for research case studies, because I mean, there's hardly ever any kind of lots of visual work. You can embed things. But I just don't think that Notion is the best way to present your work. Notion gives you like this portfolio experience, first of all. And I personally believe for user researchers, potentially like decks actually better than the portfolios, because deck, you have a slide, you have my attention only on the slide, you control what I see much better. So it's better for you to have me on the deck. And for designers, I mean, we can all agree that like the level of design and iteration and like branding that you can put in Notion versus Framer, like Framer, I mean, obviously Framer is a design tool. So I think that if you are a product designer and you build in a portfolio, you should not be building it in Notion. And for me, it's like a major red flag. I have never, ever seen a designer, product designer with a Notion portfolio move into the next stage, not because I reject it, because we've never seen like a good visually skilled case study in Notion. And that's my experience, but like I personally would not recommend. I think Notion is a great database. That's what it's built for, you know, kind of like to have a lot of things. And I think for you, Chris, like specifically, I saw obviously like Notion and how your product is built. And like, I totally understand why you recommended Notion, because like there is a lot of checklists that Notion is hitting. I have my course on the Notion instead of like a website. So like I understand, but the case study for product design, specifically visual aspect, is extremely important. And you cannot do it on Notion as well as like the actual portfolio website, I believe. What's your take?
Yes, I agree with you in terms of it would make sense for folks to work or show their skills in Framer. But what ends up happening is that they only focus on the website and not the case studies. So the suggestion for having it in Notion as the MVP, or where you basically brain dump and refine your writing, is in Notion, because you don't get distracted with anything else. You could just start a page and start writing. And I think a lot of people, when they do pick the platform and then build their portfolio, they get bogged down and trying to make it perfect. And I've also seen a lot of design portfolios built in Framer or on Squarespace that is just not that great. Like it's just like subpar work. And also a lot of folks like actually buy templates as well. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to like
Yeah.
move fast, but they also haven't spent time learning the tool of Framer. So they might be great in Figma, but doesn't 100% translate to Framer if you don't know how that tool works and how to make, you know, interactions and animations and make it interactive. So I guess Notion is great to just display writing, and you could actually, like, I had my old portfolio in Framer because in Notion, because it wasn't that visual. It's just a lot of writing and pictures attached. But I would say start there, and then when you actually have these Framer skills, move the writing over and use Notion as your backend CMS to import it into Framer and then start playing around. But again, if you're building a portfolio from scratch and you don't even have any case studies yet, taking on a new tool and learning that and writing and giving all the evidence, that's like a lot of work. So I'll prefer folks break it down. Yeah,
for sure. And if I also may just like a little bit of follow up, because I see Juan said that Ruslu, sorry, not sure how to pronounce the name, I'm so sorry, but head of design at Coursera has portfolio in Notion. And I mean, I went to it and I'm seeing it. So if everyone is like, you know, having access to this link, check it out. I mean, first of all, like this is the best visual representation of the Notion portfolio that I've seen. So yes, there are people, and there is always one person who will be able to do that. But unless you're head of design at Coursera, I would not recommend you do that, because, you know, potentially you cannot do it. You cannot make it look that good. And second of all, if you actually look inside of the case studies, those are not case studies. Those are like just plenty of links, right? Linked assets, videos, and stuff like that. This is not a portfolio. Like you will not be hired with this portfolio. Maybe that like this person will be hired for sure, but they will have to build case studies, you know, to go into the processes most likely. And I bet that their case studies most likely will, I mean, even if it's on Notion, they definitely have the skills and the visual kind of, you know, the eye for that. But I don't know, Chris, have you seen similar notions to that? Like, I doubt, you know. And so there are always people who can do, and I'm not saying like that's 100% rule. There is nothing 100%, like, you know, but there are always outliers. And that's the question to you. Are you an outlier? Can you do that? Or will you use the tool that will support you rather than challenge you?
I like that. That makes sense. Okay, so let's go into another one. What can a candidate do differently in today's job market if even referrals aren't leading to opportunities? This one's a bit, you know, big blue sky kind of thinking. What are things that, apart from the things you mentioned, is there something new that you would want to dive into?
There's nothing that you need to do differently. You just need to do the right things. That's the problem. And like most of the people don't do the right things. And like right things, once again, having clean, understandable, you know, CVs, portfolios, you know, decent case studies, solid case studies, actually, if you really want to. 100% being referred is a great thing, but also like the market is over fluctuated with fake referrals. You know, like when people ask to be referred and then like you don't know really that you don't really know the person. So in recruitment, since we're talking about design recruitment, there are two types of how CVs can go through like internal employees. There is a referral. Referral by definition means that I have worked with this person and I can vouch for their behavior, for the quality of their work and things like that, right? Because all of those things are important. If you reach out to me from LinkedIn and you ask me to like refer you, it's not a referral, it's a lead. And basically me as an employee, I won't even get money because it just kind of helped you to get in, right? Because we talked about it. And that's why potential referrals are not working, because unless you worked with that person, it's not a referral really, right? And so like it's not being taken as seriously. Referrals usually have different service level agreements. For example, if you apply, me as a recruiter in-house, I need to process your application within 3 business days. If you're a referral, it's 24 hours. So like we always have to give like better kind of recognition to referrals, because we want to like acknowledge that we appreciate that the other employees are growing our team. Anyways, nothing doing differently. Proper CV, proper portfolio, proper story. What is it that I've done? Who am I? What do I want to do? What is it that you guys doing? Proper questions. I see so many candidates talk well about themselves and then hiring managers or team members ask, like, do you have any questions to us? And they don't have any questions. How can you, how can you not have questions? In the time of ChatGPT, even if you don't have questions, ask ChatGPT what questions you should be asking. Like, come on, people, and those are like the basics. And now we can all have a laugh and be like, oh yeah, this is so stupid. But like, you cannot imagine how often that happens. You cannot imagine how often I reject high potential candidates because they didn't have decent questions, because they say how strategic and high impact they are, but then they're not asking anything clarifying about the actual company. It's like people only want to talk about themselves, but like, don't you want to know where you stepping in? Don't you want to know like what's going to be happening there? Because like once you're there, you're going to be facing it and dealing with this. So honestly, like, that's also the point, like being curious. Everyone says, I'm curious, I'm a designer, curiosity is my superpower. So like, why don't you show that throughout the process? So many people say, but the recruiter didn't tell me this, but the company didn't give me that. Did you ask for it? Be proactive. Proactivity is a superpower. This is what so little candidates do. I have some candidates who come to me and we're at the final stages, and I would have asked, like, I try to be super high touch recruiter, but they ask, do you think I should prepare references? Would you like me to have a conversation with someone else? Can I talk to someone from the team? It all counts. You're very proactive, you're very motivated, you're very committed. We see that, and everything counts. So honestly, just being like this decent candidate with like a clear understanding of who they are, with good work, with good portfolio, either frame or notion, make it good, right? Up to you. Honestly, don't care. I will not reject your PDF if it's done well, but it needs to be done well, right? Like, I don't care actually, if anything. So that's something that I would recommend. And once again, getting out of this like mindset as if like everyone is trying to screw you over. Like, hiring processes are tough because it's more people on the market. Companies are becoming smaller because more and more automation tools coming out, more and more AI tools coming out, and it's normal. Startups are trying to keep smaller because we also saw how everything imploded a couple of years back, right? And it did implode so hard. So no one wants to hire that many people now. So you just need to match the role. You need to be good. You need to be ready as well. If I'm inviting you for a conversation, you need to be ready to step into the conversation, not tell me like, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks because whatever reason, like, then, okay, I will hire someone in that time. So those kind of small things, that really make a difference.
Right. I want to throw this question at you, Lena. Any advice for folks looking to relocate internationally who don't have experience in the country, but do have experience in general? Do you work with talent agencies directly or apply? Any experience with this?
Actually, I don't think that relocation is a big problem. If anything, no one wants to be relocating right now. Everyone's like, oh, I can work remotely. Why the hell would I relocate? So I think your chances of getting a good job that will relocate you is there. Working talent agencies, I would assume it's recruitment agencies you mean. So like people like me, I guess, like who are hiring. I'd say do both, right? Why limit your chances, And if I was a candidate, like I would try to talk to as many agencies, recruiters as possible, right? And not like, I get a lot of messages from people like, hi, Lena, look, I'm looking for a role. And most of them, I do ghost. I will not lie, because I have just so many every day. But some of them are very relevant, and those are the people I talk to, right? So like, it doesn't mean that all these messages will land and bring you something, but as a recruiter, I always think like, I don't need a lot of candidates. I need one candidate because I have one job. And this is the mindset you should have. You don't need more roles. You just need to be that one candidate for that one role. And I think like the more sources of the choices you have, the better. However, be careful, because you don't want to like spread yourself too thin into too many processes, because processes are very time and effort demanding. So if I was to recommend, like really having this very targeted approach will help you to like stay more sane and also have more opportunities and success chances.
Perfect. Okay, so let's just go for one more question as we are running out of time here. Andre asked, What are the things I should add to my portfolio / CV if you are trying to transition from a senior IC to leadership or principal and staff, like I guess the next level up? What are companies looking for from a senior IC to leadership or principal / staff designer?
Honestly, they look in the same experience in your CV. So unless you've had it, like, having that experience, like, you should get promoted into that role. It's very rare that you will get an upgrade from what you have to where you're going, unless you go in from meta product designer role into like a smaller company and you can get a big role. But if that's not the case, no one. I see most of the companies downgrading, not upgrading. I'm not, once again, like, yes, it's possible. Everything is. I have never hired anyone I've hired one person who upgraded the title in my whole career. And this person is still working at Miro, and they are absolutely brilliant. But that was my only situation when the person applied for a senior role and we hired them for a staff role, because that's how good they were. And because they were also underappreciated in their previous company. But it's not what should I put. It's like the complexity of the projects that you've been handling, right? The scope, the scale. Staff, like how we described staff at Miro versus senior. Senior designer is working within their cross-functional team. Staff is working within the squad of cross-functional teams. So you're managing a high level of complexity and you're responsible. There might be different designers, but you're basically responsible for the whole thing. So unless you've done that, put whatever, but like, I need to see that experience. Same for leadership. I feel like people don't understand what is like the leadership role in design management, aka you need to hire people, you need to fire people. Yeah, you need to come up with what you said, right? Like levels of seniority, frameworks, promotions, performance improvement plans, rituals, and things like that. Unless you've done it all, most likely you'll not get into this role. So it's not like, there's no magic beans. You just need to have the experience.
Yeah, like just a quick tangent from my side. I got hired as a UX manager. Like I was a UX manager, but hired as head of design because I basically did everything that Lena just said, like hired, fired, built processes, managed a large team in different time zones, and moving into head of design. That role specifically is because I've already done a bunch of that stuff, and it seemed like that design team was less mature in terms of what we were doing over here. So it's like, obviously, companies have different titles and different in terms of where they are, in terms of how the design team is structured, what they do. So like, if you've done that elsewhere and you can transition, so if you're like a senior IC but transition into principal at this company, it's very possible if that senior IC role overlaps with the skills that this principal role had, or even maybe you're overqualified to be a principal in this like tidier startup, for example. So like, yeah, exactly. I really like what you said there, Lena. All right. Okay, so there's so many questions on this one, and so I don't want to go through all of them, but I do want to give you a chance to tell the folks what you're doing and how you can help them if they've got more questions and stuff like that. So let me just flash this visual on screen and take as much time as you need, and I will just go hide behind the background and take a sip of water. Okay?
How nice. Thank you. I mean, I guess there are different tiers of help, right? First of all, I do write every single day. I do have a little bit of this, tough love style to my communication, and it's the same in writing. But if you are looking for some tips, I give a lot of high quality tips that I'm selling literally on my one-on-one sessions completely for free in my posts. So come in, just follow along the right. And yeah, I'm always engaging in the comments and trying to be as helpful as possible. I'm sharing some examples of good portfolios. Someone was asking like, what is the good portfolio? So I will be sharing more. Then I also do one-on-ones. So if someone is actually working on the job search, there are different tiers. There's like 30 minutes, 1 hour, and then the job search accelerator. It's like 6 weeks program. have lots of clients who came in and literally live with like so much better portfolios, with proper CVs. They know how to pitch themselves. They score their jobs. And this is something that just like, I know it's working, and I'm very happy to share a lot of stuff and really kind of prep you, because you work with the recruiter who is actually actively hiring. What Chris has put here is the Master Your Product Design and User Research Job Search. The one that I definitely need to rebrand. It's a very long name, but that's my Maven course. It's a course that's had almost 100 students at the moment. My cohort 7 is in class, and then after half an hour, I'm going actually in the Q&A session with them to answer the same questions potentially. And this is where you have a huge opportunity to connect with fellow job search seekers, like, you know, in product design and research. It's a mixed course, and just go through sessions with me. So there are live sessions, there are pre-recorded sessions, a lot of super useful information. There are plenty of very good examples of portfolios, and then you complete all your homeworks, which is CV, portfolio pitch, and networking outreach, and I give you feedback, and it's all happening within 2 weeks. So it's very intense. You have to be ready for that, but it's very, very useful, and I have a lot of students who landed roles afterwards. But if you go on my LinkedIn, there is also a link that says get your new job now, and it's the same course materials that you can buy at much lower price and go at your own pace. You get exactly the same stuff, exactly the same exercises, exactly the same portfolios, exactly the same pre-recorded sessions, but there is no my feedback. And so if you do the homeworks afterwards, you can book my time, for example, but there is plenty of information that's going to be extremely useful, and you will get times better at your search and just like thinking about what's happening than before. So yeah, plenty of stuff that you can help yourself. I also have plenty of free talks and everything. So yeah, just check out my my website. There is a learning hub, and there is plenty of things that happen in there.
Awesome. So guys, you've been doing it, but again, I prompt you to scan that QR code to my right. Anyway, like on your screen, I don't know what it's going to be, but anyway, scan that QR code. But Lena, we appreciate you for coming on and sharing your wisdom, and also that you do so much for the folks looking for work. So I really appreciate it. So guys, go connect with Lena on LinkedIn and dive into some of her posts and resources. I'm sure there's things that can help you if you're, in this messy middle of a job search. I guess the last thing I would ask is, if I'm a designer or a researcher and I've been struggling for the last 3 to 6 months to find something, like no callbacks, what are some like words that you could leave the audience who are in this bucket of job search? What would you say to them?
I think what's really important, and I've never been in those shoes, so this is just something that I've worked with a lot of people in those situations, and this is what I'm observing. It's like a vicious circle. It's kind of like a burnout of the job search. People get very, very tired, very irritated. You don't know what's happening anymore. Why? What is causing this problem? So if I could give like a piece of advice, it's just like take a week and try to completely disconnect. Honestly, like humans are not created for being like completely continuously stressed, continuously thinking about the same thing. And I think as soon as you disconnect and go this like boardroom, right? Like when you bored basically and not doing the same things, you will get some answers, you will get some creative ideas, and you will understand maybe more like what is it you wanted. Maybe sometimes also people don't get roles. Maybe it's like a preventive mechanism. Maybe those are not the roles that you want to be doing, right? Like think about bigger picture. I understand we all need to pay our bills, but I myself was burned out and I was doing the job and like I hated it. And my burnout was the biggest signal. So like I have to change things, and like I have to take care of me in the future because that's not sustainable. So I really just hope that, everyone can see that those struggles, those are opportunities. Like I've seen so many people completely redesigning their lives, redesigning who they are, redesigning what they do. They go from full-time unemployment then into this like beautiful entrepreneurship, soloprenneurship, really cool roles. So just like, know that there is things for you and just like take care of yourself, because like if you can think clearly, everything is possible, and like help is out there as well.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much. I know you have to run because you have another AMA session with your community and course folks. So feel free to drop off while I wrap this up. Again, thank you so much for your time. And you are welcome back whenever, because I'm like, you're so popular. Everyone just blowing up the chat. And that's like probably one of the busiest chats I've ever had. I'm just trying to read it. I'm like, oh, I'm getting a headache. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was amazing. Happy to do the part 2 anytime. So yeah, thank you so much.
All right, guys, go follow her, go follow me, and just DM me if you want to see a part 2, and we'll make it happen. Okay, so Lena is gone, but I do again want to share her course. Again, she has a lot of different ways that she can help you, but one of the things that she's doing immediately after this, which is now, is to give folks, live AMAs like this, but inside her private community of folks that are using her resources to get feedback on their job search. So if that sounds something like you want to do, you can go check her stuff out and tell her that, you found her from the LinkedIn Live. But part 2 encore. Okay. there's a lot of folks say part 2. Okay. Yes. Let me know more. I want to know if a part 2 is actually in order, as she's so popular. But before we round out the session, I want to tell you about next week's session. Usually we do these twice a month, but I think I'm going to ramp that up. But next week, which is around the same time, I am speaking to 2 design founders, Nick Zechner and Wyatt Feaster. And we are going to be talking in a different format. I've never had 3 people all together on this before, but we're going to do a round table, and we're going to talk about how to make money as a solo designer, how to overcome self-doubt on this solo journey, and then how to avoid common mistakes and understand myths when you're going on your independent journey. So if you are looking at becoming independent solo or becoming a founder and kind of figuring out, is this solo life for me? Then tune in next week. Of course, scan that QR code and this one to subscribe, and I'll just notify you a couple of days before when it's online. And there'll be a link to, of course, the recorded session. So with that all, is there anything else from me? No, there isn't. Again, to remind you to listen to more conversations like this, head to live.uxplaybook.org, where you'll get notified for future events and also the recorded link in case you've missed anything. Yes, there's a bunch of other sessions on how to, of course, we could, I think I've already got a lot of job search related stuff on the live streams, where I've invited folks like Lena, like Joe, and others who specialize in the job search and portfolio type resources. So you can go find that. If you go to YouTube, just type Chris from UX Playbook there, and you'll find my channel and check out all the lives. Okay. But with that, guys, thank you very much for being so active and super interactive. I couldn't get, to everything, but it's good to know that you guys are there, and we'll try answer as many as possible next time around. So with that, I will see y'all on the other side. Bye. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.